Hi, Essential Craftsman. Thank you for joining me again. In this video I would like to demonstrate some of the characteristics and tell you why I am a firm believer that square stakes are more productive and frankly more pleasant to use than round stakes, concrete stakes. Now right off the bat, a steel stake beats a wood stake in almost every case, but there are good reasons to use square stakes and to choose them. So one of the first and fundamental uses of a concrete stake are for building layout. You may have not yet discovered, but many times a line stake will work instead of having to set up a batter board. So the immediate and obvious advantage is a square stake will hold the end of a tape measure. These stakes at that elevation are 56 1/4 inches apart. Let's see how far apart. Well, it appears to be somewhere around, I guess it's about, I think it's about 56 1/2. You get my point. A square stake holds a tape. Now marking elevation. If I had a laser in my hand or I had a man shooting grade through a builder's level, you can mark elevation on a square stake clearly. Crow's foot, mark the side that's up, put a mark to help attract attention in case this gets obscured by dirt. Let's mark the round stake. First of all, what side is pointing straight towards the form? Well, it may be here, it may be here, maybe it's there. Is there a mark? I don't know. Okay, there's a mark. It's just hard to put a specific mark on a round stake. Now, if you're using stakes for layout, which of course you will, a square stake's a gorgeous thing if you know 2 or 3 particular knots. I use a lark's head to tie off to the dead end of the string. Let me show you that lark's head again. See that? Now, if you put the lark's head on so that it binds on the form side of the stake, you can see that it's not going to slip ever. On this side, you can put one loop around the stake, pull it tight, let the string bind over itself, and you can hold that as tight as you can pull that string. In addition, back to the point of marking the grade, mark the grade, tighten the stake to the line, bingo, tight. As far as dismounting the string, it's as easy as this. Now there are 2 things at play here, and understand I'm teasing a little bit if I ridicule the good men who use round stakes. They were raised that way. They can't help it. You can use a lark's head, and it does okay. But there is a tendency to not be sure how to make that string bind. If you do pull it the wrong way, it's always going to rotate around until it comes to the center of the stake. Lark's head's a pretty good knot. You can come down to the other end. The same knot will hold, but you almost always have to go around twice with a round stake in order to make it hold. And once again, we're back to the same dilemma of marking the grade on a round stake. It's just hard to identify. Now there's one really sort of obscure but handy advantage to a square stake. You got the string, you've got to cut it. You don't have a knife. What do? With a square stake, you cut it. With a round stake, you wear yourself out, you get on the upset edge, and you can get through it, but the square stake will cut a string right now. Perhaps the most obvious reason is flat stakes, square stakes correspond nicely to flat boards, boards with flat sides. You get full bearing. The board fits nicely. Now on the other hand, I'm going to knock this off of here. If you're setting straight boards against round stakes, square peg, round hole, not the same. Additionally, let me demonstrate this. If you are using round steaks, you're probably using a hammer kind of like this. That's about the same kind of productivity a round steak typically builds on a job site. How often do you find out that the nail is bent, and so you've got to worry it out of there with your hammer, break the handle out of your hammer, stop production? Not if you got square steaks. You can cut it off. Try that with a round steak. Okay, I think I will. It's not going to happen. You just can't do it. But if you got a square steak on the job, you can cut it off. Now let's say the backhoe operator on the job ran into one of your steaks and it's bent. Now I don't care if it's square or round, but a bent steak's hard to deal with, and then they're miserable. Here's where a square steak really shines. Pretty good. Not quite like new, but pretty good. Now the round steak spins in your hand. You can do it, but it hurts. No thanks. We've just about exhausted the obvious reasons that square steaks are superior, but how often do you pour a footing, a stem wall, the edge of a slab, a turned down slab, something where you just almost don't have time, and you come back the next morning and you realize there's a steak that didn't get stripped and it's cast into what boiled out, and you got to fight it out of there. If you got a square steak and a crescent wrench, you put it on and give it a turn, and out it comes. If you got a round steak, obviously you can do it with a pipe wrench, but all you're going to do is spin it inside the concrete and you're still going to have a devil of a time pulling it out. So, the moral of my story is, if you're going to invest in steaks, if you haven't already committed yourself, go with the square. You're going to be happy. So I've tried hard, in the interest of being fair, to think of some way that a round steak is superior. Here's what I've got. You've got a really heavy glulam beam on the job. You've got to roll it across the concrete floor to get it in a new position. You jack it up, you put it on your concrete stakes, and you can roll it smooth as silk. And a square steak is no good at all. But aside from that, fellas, if you're not already the proud owner of a truckload of round steaks, get some square ones.